The story starts in a small town in Missouri, USA. On the morning of his 5th wedding anniversary, Nick steps out of his house. Instead of going back in, he prefers to just stand on the street corner because home has started feeling suffocating to him. He heads to a bar run by his sister. This bar was opened by his wife Amy for him, and now it's become one of the main reasons their marriage is falling apart. In front of his sister, Nick vents about his broken relationship. His words reveal clear signs of exhaustion and regret. Suddenly, Nick gets a phone call. It's from his neighbor, who says their cat has wandered into their yard. Amy was supposed to be home at that time. This makes Nick suspicious. When he gets back, he's shocked by what he sees. The living room is a total mess. Tables and furniture are broken. The sofa is flipped over like there was some kind of intense struggle. But Amy is nowhere to be found. Nick senses something's wrong and immediately calls the police. Soon after, 2 detectives arrive. They arrive there. One of them is Bonnie, an experienced female officer. She calmly inspects the entire house and quickly notices some strange things. The table is broken, but the photo frames on the wall are completely intact. Everything feels really fake. On the edge of the kitchen cabinet, she spots blood splatters that don't look like they're from a normal fight. Every single thing is so weird, like someone planned all this very carefully. After that, Nick is taken to the police station to give his statement, but there, his behavior leaves everyone shocked. He claims to be a university professor and says his wife is just a simple housewife. But when the police ask about Amy's habits, her friends, and even basic stuff like her blood type, Nick acts clueless every time. It's like he's talking about a complete stranger. His careless attitude makes the police suspicious of him. Meanwhile, Amy's diary reveals another truth about their marriage. The diary talks about the early sweetness of their relationship in New York. It all started at a party. Nick was funny and charming, while Amy was smart and incredibly beautiful. Amy had a unique background too. Her parents were famous authors of the popular book Amazing Amy, and Amy was the real-life inspiration behind the character that millions of readers knew. That night, Nick took Amy through a narrow alley where the sweet smell of sugar was wafting from a nearby bakery. As the sugary scent floated through the air like sweet snow, in that magical moment, Nick kissed Amy, and that's how their love story began. In the diary, their couple looked absolutely perfect, like they were made for each other. Meanwhile, the police investigation was moving quickly. They found out that although it looked like Nick was running the household, in reality, the house, all the property, and even the credit cards were all under Amy's name. Financially, Amy was the one in control in this marriage. Things got even more surprising when the police found a white envelope in the bedroom, labeled Clue Number 1. The very next day, Amy's parents arrived from New York and held a press conference with the police. In front of the cameras, both writers behaved very smoothly. They talk and play the role of broken parents really well. They appeal to people for help in finding their daughter. But when standing in front of the cameras next to the missing wife's poster, Nick looks nervous and uncomfortable. Even when the photographer asks him to smile, he gives a weird smile at the wrong moment. That smile gets captured on camera and spreads across the country, becoming the first sign that he's cold and heartless. When they return to the police station, Amy's parents give a lead for the investigation. Amy had 2 ex-boyfriends. One was her first love from high school, and the other was her boyfriend back in college. Then the female cop pulls out a mysterious envelope. Nick explains that it's a treasure hunt game they play every year on their anniversary. "I know this one." Based on the clue on the paper, the police quickly find clue number 2 in his office, which points to a small brown house. But while still in the office, the female officer finds something else surprising. A red women's. The undergarment isn't Amy's. When questioned, Nick nervously lies, saying it's probably his wife's. But the female officer can tell he's hiding something. That night, Nick tells Mung he doesn't know where the brown house is. Still, he sneaks out, takes the car, and goes there. It's actually his dad's house, something very few people know about. What Nick doesn't know is that Amy has already changed the door password. The moment he steps inside, the alarm goes off. Inside, Nick finds envelope number 3, the clue. But before he could even start reading, a female officer suddenly shows up and scares him. Nervous, he quickly hides the envelope in his pocket and lies, saying he comes here every week for routine checks. But his childish excuse only makes the police more suspicious. On the 3rd day after Amy went missing, her fans start their own prayer meetings and search operations. Nick also shows up there. He's supposed to be showing grief and concern, but instead he's mingling with people like he's at a casual party. Even when a female fan asks to take a photo with him, when she asks him, he agrees immediately without thinking and even gives a small smile. But soon he realizes it was a mistake and asks her not to share the photo. With you, but by then it's already too late. That very night, the photo goes viral and causes a huge uproar across the country. A man whose wife is missing, smiling in a photo with another woman. This completely ruins Nick's image, and that same night an unwanted guest shows up, revealing an even bigger secret about him. She is Nick's girlfriend and his student Andy. Actually, Nick had been cheating on her for the past year. The two of them ended up spending the night together at his sister's place. The next day, when Nick is dropping Andy off, his sister catches them. She can't believe that even in such a serious situation, her brother is doing something like this. If this relationship gets exposed, the media will completely ruin him. Faced with his sister's anger and scolding, Nick's repressed anger finally erupts. He lashes out at Amy, blaming her for totally ruining his life. Fading hopes and unspoken jabs were what made him feel suffocated. And that's why, without thinking much, he ended up in the arms of a young girl. Just when Nick was stuck in this mess of relationships, the police investigation takes a big turn. The forensic team, through a fluorescent test, finds out that there was a large amount of blood spilled on the kitchen floor at Nick's house, which had been cleaned up, and that blood matches Amy's blood group perfectly. This almost proves that something happened with Amy in the kitchen. Something terrible has happened. Meanwhile, at another prayer meeting, a neighbor named Noel steps forward and drops a shocking bombshell. She reveals that Amy was 6 weeks pregnant before she went missing. The news spreads like wildfire, making the whole situation even worse. Now, Nick isn't just being accused of killing his wife, but also their unborn child. With an angry crowd closing in, he has to flee under police protection and head back home. Nick keeps insisting that he had no idea Amy was pregnant, but the female police officer shows some pictures that prove his story wrong. In them, Amy is seen getting pretty close to her neighbor. The officer clearly lays out all her suspicions. This crime scene was cleaned up very cleverly. It was staged to look like a kidnapping to divert suspicion, but there's a lot of blood, no body, which clearly points to murder. And the biggest suspicion falls on someone inside the house. Besides that, Nick has a huge credit card debt and a few other things. The document he signed earlier, which increased Amy's insurance coverage to $100,000, along with all the other evidence, forms a solid story that directly proves Nick is his wife's killer. When the hospital report also confirms that Amy was indeed pregnant, Nick completely breaks down. Now he has no way out. Just then, he remembers clue number 3. Following that lead, he goes to the small storeroom behind his house. As soon as he opens the door, he's shocked by what he sees inside. The room was filled with expensive stuff. Golf clubs, branded watches, high-end sound systems. These were all the things the police found had been bought using Nick's credit card. But there was no sign of him anywhere. The weirdest part was that Nick didn't know anything about any of it. At this point, the story makes you start thinking that Nick must be a lying, cold-blooded killer. But the director, David Fincher's biggest strength is that just when you think the truth is out, he hits you with a twist that changes everything. Here comes the twist that changes everything. Now let's shift the story's perspective to Amy. She's driving down a deserted road in a newly bought second-hand car, heading straight towards the plan she made herself. She chopped off her long blonde hair, dyed it a new color, and started wearing plain, cheap clothes. clears throat. Now she's enjoying all the junk food she used to avoid just to keep her figure. One by one, she's throwing out the pages of her diary filled with lies right out the car window. It's all part of her carefully planned revenge scheme. As soon as she found out about Nick's affair, instead of crying or fighting, she started a plan that could be called an art form. She read tons of crime books to create the perfect crime scene. Every move she made was so cold and precise, it gives you chills just thinking about it. To sway public opinion in her favor, she deliberately befriended that neighbor woman she didn't even like before. During casual chats, she slowly presented herself as a wife who had been enduring her husband's mental and physical abuse for a long time. Meanwhile, Nick was shown as an angry and violent man. To build a strong motive against Nick, she secretly racked up huge expenses on his credit card and filled their tiny room with expensive stuff, creating a big debt. She cleverly got Nick to sign those insurance papers, which increased the payout significantly. And the most dangerous move was faking a pregnancy. She knew very well that if Nick was accused of killing a pregnant wife, so there would be no way for him to escape. For this, she cleverly came up with a plan. First, she drained the water from the toilet at home and then invited her pregnant neighbor over. She kept giving her water to drink. When the neighbor used the toilet and the flush didn't work, she left behind the most important piece of evidence, her urine sample. Using that sample, Amy got herself registered as pregnant in the hospital records. She also prepared a 5-year-long diary titled 3 Parts Truth, 7 Parts Lies, which contained there were some genuine moments of love, but most of it was cleverly fabricated by Amy herself. Cold behavior, stories of physical abuse and mental torture, all lies. After writing in her diary, she takes it to Nick's dad's lonely old brown house and throws it into the fireplace, but deliberately doesn't burn it completely so the police can find it easily. On their wedding anniversary, as soon as Nick leaves the house, Amy methodically sets up the entire crime scene herself. She calmly draws a significant amount of blood from her body and uses tricks she read about in books to make it look like she makes it look real. Then she spills the blood on the floor in a way that it seems like someone cleaned up. She wraps the wooden stick, which had Nick's fingerprints on it, in the blood and throws it into the fireplace. All these treasure hunt clues were actually traps, one by one, meant to frame Nick and push him straight toward a death sentence. After doing all this, Amy changes her appearance and starts living in a deserted motel. To make her domestic abuse victim act more believable, she even hits her own face with a hammer. Meanwhile, Amy meets a girl from the next room and her boyfriend. She tells them her fake, sad story and soaks up their sympathy. The three of them sit together watching TV, seeing how Nick is facing hate all over the country, and strangely, Amy feels a weird sense of relief inside. But then, a small comment from the girl cuts Amy deep. When she gets the chance, Amy spits into the girl's drink to get back at her. This shows her narrow-minded and vengeful true nature. But they say, being too clever sometimes backfires. One day, by mistake, the bag of money tied around her waist falls down, and it's stuffed with cash. The girl and her boyfriend spot it right away. The next day, they come into her room, and it's clear they're only after the money. They've already figured out Amy's real deal and snatch all her cash before running off. They take the money and leave immediately, leaving Amy completely alone, broke, and with no support. Her perfect plan totally falls apart. According to the original plan, she wanted to stage a fake suicide scene and use her body to trap Nick forever. But now things had changed, and she didn't want to die anymore. Desperate, she calls someone who was madly in love with her high school ex-boyfriend, the wealthy Daisy Collins. Meanwhile, on the other side, Nick, laughing it off, finally decides to get legal help on his sister's advice. He goes to the top lawyer who's often seen defending wives accused of murder on TV shows. Now, when Tanner Bolt hears this weird and almost unbelievable story, he doesn't find it strange at all. Instead, he's really interested. His thinking is clear. If Amy's whole story is a well-planned lie, this wouldn't be the first time. He advises Nick to dig info from Amy's ex-boyfriend because he might reveal the truth behind her perfect image. After that, Nick meets the ex-boyfriend Tommy, whom Amy had falsely accused before. Tommy's story turns out to be exactly the same as it is now. Nick is going through a tough time. He says Amy is a super controlling and dangerous woman. When she broke up with him, Amy made up a fake rape case to ruin his reputation. Because of that, he almost went to jail. That false accusation has messed up his life for the past 10 years. He hasn't been able to get a girlfriend or a job. This is the first time Nick actually has solid proof of Amy's schemes and lies. Meanwhile, when Amy gets a call, Daisy fully buys into the fake story Amy made up. He's convinced that Nick has set him up and that she's running away. He takes Amy to his secluded luxury house by the lake where there's tight security and cameras everywhere. Daisy takes really good care of Amy, but there's also this dangerous, controlling vibe in how he acts. It makes Amy start feeling that same suffocating feeling all over again. Meanwhile, lawyer Tanner is cooking up a big plan for Nick, planning to use the media. He says the same media that made Nick out to be the villain can also make him look like a remorseful guy. But just as Nick, he's getting ready for the interview when he gets hit with a big shock. His girlfriend Amy, along with her parents, has already held a press conference, painting herself as an innocent girl who Nick betrayed. After this, Nick's situation only gets worse, and he gets completely caught up in the controversy. Tanner advises him to cancel the interview, but Nick sticks to his plan anyway. At this moment, it seems like he finally understands Amy's game completely. He realizes that the real audience for the whole performance isn't the public, but Amy, who's watching everything secretly. Nick gives an amazing performance on the TV show. He wears the tie and watch Amy gave him and openly admits his mistake. He sincerely apologizes and, getting emotional, expresses his love for Amy sitting far away right in front of the camera. He even makes a gesture that only the two of them can understand. At the same time, Amy is sitting in the house by the lake watching all this live, and it really moves her. On TV, Nick seems like the same person she knows. She used to love him once, and she always wanted him back. When a lost person finds their way again, they become the most precious. That's exactly where this story was heading. Standing nearby, Daisy could read the change in Amy's expression and tried to turn off the TV. But his controlling attitude only annoyed Amy more. She realized she had just escaped one prison, only to step right into a different, even prettier one. Meanwhile, Nick's interview went really well, and people's opinions slowly started shifting in his favor. Right then, Amy made a new decision. She decides to go back home to Nick. But there's still a barrier between her and Nick because of Daisy, and that's why a darker, bloodier plan starts forming in her mind. Using every camera installed in Daisy's house, she creates a new story for herself, that she was held captive and abused. After Daisy leaves, she deliberately bites her lip, tears her clothes to make it look like she was assaulted on camera. She uses red wine to fake bloodstains and ties ropes around her hands. She even goes as far as hurting herself to act out pain in front of the camera. When the right moment comes, one night she dresses up attractively to lure Daisy towards her, and as soon as she gets the chance, she pulls out a hidden knife from under the pillow and slits her throat in one swift move. The next morning, just as Nick is about to be arrested by the police, he hears a commotion outside. When he opens the door, he's shocked by what he sees. His wife Amy, covered in blood, staggering towards him. And then she comes out in front of all the media, falling into Nick's arms like she's some poor victim just escaped from hell. The hospital tests prove that Amy was really abused, and the CCTV footage there completely backs up her story. According to her, her ex-boyfriend Daisy had kidnapped her, kept her captive, and repeatedly abused her. In the end, to save her own life, she was forced to fight back and ended up killing that monster. So this way, Amy was actually a killer, but in a moment, she turns into a brave woman who fights to save her life. Meanwhile, Nick, who everyone thought was guilty, is now cleared of all doubts when his wife comes back alive. Standing outside the house, they greet the media and the crowd, putting on an emotional reunion act. But as soon as the door shuts behind them, the whole truth comes out. In the bathroom, Amy tells Nick everything honestly. She says that the regretful person they see on TV is the same one. The only perfect husband for her is Nick, the one who shows his love. And her coming back is the reward for that performance. She threatens Nick that if he tries to tell the truth, she knows 1,000 ways to ruin him again. Nick is completely scared by this woman's crazy mindset and cold calculation. He realizes he's trapped in a web he can't escape from. Now their lives have become an endless drama. Outwardly one thing, but inside something else. To the world, they're a happy couple fighting and winning against all odds. But the reality is, they hate each other and are sworn enemies. Nick tries several times to get help from lawyers and the police, but there's no evidence and everyone thinks Amy is the victim. A month later, to strengthen her image, Amy plans a TV interview where she wants Nick to confess his crime himself. Before the interview, Amy gives Nick a gift, a pregnancy test showing 2 clear lines. She got pregnant using Nick's sperm she had stored earlier at a fertility clinic. It happens. This kid becomes a trap for Nick, one he can never escape. In anger, he shoves Amy against the wall. In that moment, anger and violence surge inside him. But something Amy says shatters his last bit of hope. He realizes he'll never be free of this woman for the rest of his life. The interview takes place at the scheduled time. Nick and Amy sit together, and in front of the camera, Nick holds his wife's hand and announces that they're soon going to be parents. Amy smiles happily as the host congratulates them. She agrees. Her smile is absolutely perfect, flawless. But only he can understand the emptiness and pain in Nick's eyes. Their marriage will keep moving forward in this never-ending drama forever. After watching Gone Girl, a lot of people say the same thing first. I'm starting to get scared of marriage, and it's not just a joke. David Fincher, with his cool and precise directing style, slowly peels away the shiny surface of a marriage to reveal the rotten, bitter truth hidden beneath. That's what it is. The reason this film really hits home is because it brings a sense of calm to the heart. It's not just a story about a clever wife getting back at her unfaithful husband. It actually reveals a deep truth about modern marriage that we often ignore. It teaches us how important honesty and open communication are in relationships, and that we shouldn't force ourselves or our partners into some fake perfect image. The film also shows how vulnerable and complicated people can become when faced with tough times and temptation. If you liked my story, don't forget to like and follow.